Hey, buddy.
Hi.
Can I come back in?
Why?
Well, I was just thinking about how much more we have to talk about.
But you left.
You're listening to the Next Team podcast. Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to another episode of the Next Team podcast. We're doing football today, and it's episode 52. And I've been joined by Yash and Arjun. I wouldn't say our usual suspects because we haven't had some suspects for quite some time. It's been the better part of 6 months since we last uploaded, and we honestly don't have much excuses. I mean, we just didn't bother uploading, to be honest. And this year, this is our resolution. We hope to revive the podcast back to its glory days and hopefully give you weekly content, which you guys look forward to.
New year, new TNT.
New year, new TNT. That's the spirit. Yes, exactly. And before I begin, as usual, please remember to check us out on YouTube and Spotify as the Next Team Podcast, and Instagram and TikTok as the Next Team SG. So be sure to follow us on all these platforms and look out for the much awaited content. And we promise you it won't be in another 6 months. It'll be probably in a week's time. Yeah. But anyway, since three of us are gathered here today, you guys should already know which fixtures we're going to be talking about, and that'll be the Manchester Derby and the North London Derby. So with two Arsenal fans out here, so we'll just start off with the NLD. And boys, any of you guys can get it started. Let's go.
I'm feeling amazing, man. Very amazing today. Right, Arjun?
That's the spirit. So is it coming home, boys? Is the league title coming home to Arsenal? Is it coming home to the Emirates?
I would say we should just take it one game at a time, see how it goes. That's what Arteta has been saying
Man
all the
is too
while,
scared to
bro.
Man is too scared to admit it.
See, I would admit it in the sense that I believe we can win it, but I don't want to say
Okay.
we will win it. Because later, you guys will come after me at the end of the season if you don't win it. So
I
want to be humble.
I mean,
stay
in
grounded.
my mind, I'm already editing this snippet of you saying we're winning the league, boys. And then watch City stand here on the last day. I can just see it happening. Okay, let's talk about the match more specifically for the match itself. How do you guys think you guys did? Like, I wasn't awake to watch the match, but of course I watched the highlights. In my opinion, the first one was a scrappy goal, but the second one was a really nice goal from Martin Odegaard. Your thoughts on how the game went in general?
I think it's if you followed how both teams have played this entire season, I think the first half kind of went how we always start very fast, Spurs start very slow, and then I think the first half we were just too good for them, and they just didn't turn up. It's a game of two halves in a way, because second half I think we didn't really have to go chasing for any more goals. We just kind of managed the game. Spurs had chances in the second half because they have to. They needed. I mean, it's a derby. If they don't, their fans are going to crucify them. And they did have chances, but just tactically.
We apologize for Arjun's Wi-Fi. It'll be coming on and off. But Yash, you can take over maybe.
I mean, I was just gonna say that honestly, the match was, like Arjun said, a game of two halves. But like the first half, we completely annihilated them. Like nothing which Spurs offered in the first half that they had any answer to. Like I know you said like the first goal was a bit scrappy, but if you actually watched the game, it had always been coming. Spurs were all pinned into their box, and like the whole Arsenal midfield was just dictating the tempo throughout the first half. And the only chance they had was, I think, towards the end of the half where Harry Kane had a header saved, I think. And I think another Son had a chance as well, somewhere in between. But apart from that, like, yeah, we were really superior, in my opinion. And then second half, like he said, we managed the game really well. We just had to, be disciplined, learn from what we didn't do at Old Trafford. basically,
Yep.
which was, go all guns blazing and just lose the plot in that game. But yeah, I mean, it just shows the progression we have made as a team, where the team is just so well balanced and disciplined. We know when we need to attack, when we need to defend, and
Mhm.
there's just a lot of amazing, like solid structure. Basically, like Spurs didn't even get close, and then a big shout out to Ramsdale because he made a few amazing saves, honestly. Um,
Yep.
so yeah, it's just a tale of two halves in a way, but then it's overall still a game well managed.
Fair point. Fair point. I mean, we were earlier talking offline about Conte. So, do you guys think his tactics are outdated, or like, is it like maybe is he like Mourinho? Maybe like, maybe his tactics don't work anymore. What do you guys think?
I wouldn't say they don't work, just maybe not
Mhm.
enough to win a league title. Like
Yeah, I think
use
that's a
what
fair statement to
what
make. Yeah.
I,
No, we lost him again, boys.
you know. Yash, please.
Okay,
yeah, I
yeah,
mean,
he's back again. Yeah.
I was just gonna say that, just like Arjun mentioned, the football is not sustainable. It's a little bit of like, terrorism football, which Conte and also, to be fair, Newcastle are a bit playing as well. I mean, I guess they
Mhm.
played that against us at the Emirates, so that's why I'm still a bit, gutted that we dropped 2 points in that game, and should have had two penalties as well in that game. But I mean, it doesn't matter now. But yeah, I mean that kind of football is just not sustainable. Like, you win some games, you lose some. You lose more games than you win, actually, because
Mhm.
all the quality teams will always find a way to break through the defense, no matter how solid you go. So if you don't have emphasis in that transition play and getting the ball forward as often as you can, then yeah, you might actually concede more goals than the goals you score, actually.
Mhm. Arjun, were you going to say that, or do you have any alternating viewpoints?
Uh, no, lah. I just think that while Conte's football can be effective, given how like even the lesser teams nowadays are quite technically like proficient, like teams
Yeah,
like Brighton and West Ham keep the ball. Or is it gone?
yeah.
Uh,
No, no, you're good, you're good, you're good. No, no, I was laughing at Brighton because, of course, we also saw our Merseyside neighbours get
yeah,
back 3-0. But
yeah,
we won't be going into that too much. I think we don't cover mid-table teams in the podcast. So,
yeah.
yeah.
I
Moving on.
just yeah, I just think that
I'm not sure if that's a dig at Liverpool or Brighton.
At this point, Brighton probably going to get Europa League at least. But by the looks of it. But yeah. Coming back, Arjun, sorry.
yeah, I just think that the way Conte's teams play, they give way too much time on the ball for the
Mhm.
opposition. So
Yeah.
it just opens them up to conceding goals against even lesser opposition, not just against top teams like Arsenal. And so
Yeah.
over the course of 38 games, it just so
Wi-Fi again.
sorry boys, it's
It's okay. It's
I
okay. You
try my
can't help
best.
it. It's okay. No
Yeah, so
worries.
yeah, that's all I wanted to add.
Okay, fair enough. Um, all right. I mean, anything else? Any other observations from the game? Okay, maybe let's not talk too much about the game, but how about let's talk about how the season has gone for you guys thus far. Your only loss was against us, which I was fortunate enough to witness at Old Trafford itself. And you guys are going to be facing us in a week's time. Not even a week's time. It's a few days actually. Actually, sorry, about a week. Yeah, I would say about
Yeah,
a week.
6 days.
And 6 days. Yeah. And I mean, you guys probably are the team to beat in the league at this point. You guys have only lost once. So what do you think it has come down to? So is it Arteta's tactics, the players, or what has been ticking for you guys?
I will say one thing, and this is just what my own opinion I feel, is that what happened last season, the way we lost top four, those three games which we lost, and then especially the Spurs game which we lost 3-0, and the
Hmm.
game of Newcastle game which we lost 2-0, which technically defined our season. I think that
Yeah.
experience is what has made Arsenal what it is today. Like,
Hmm.
I don't think without that experience, we would be this good in the Premier League right now. That's just my true honest opinion. Like, it made Arteta even better manager. It made the
Hmm.
players even mentally stronger to deal with the pressure. and even more hungry for success, basically. I mean, none of us at the start of the season even predicted Arsenal to be in the conversation for the Premier League title. We were just thinking top four max. You, in fact, because went even as low as sixth for Arsenal. So,
I can't find the video, sorry.
so it's like I feel that whole experience just made a huge change, and then of course the arrival of Zinchenko and Jesus made a huge difference as well. But
Of course.
yeah, I think it's just that whole experience. And like sometimes, they say you have to go through hardships to get even better. And I feel that's what has happened with this club. And what's just so exciting about this is that all of our, or majority of our squad is not even at their peak yet. They're not even at the peak
That's
age in
true.
terms of footballing experience. So if we end up winning the Premier League at this season, it's just a truly magnificent achievement, honestly. Yeah.
So, I mean, did you guys think when Arteta started his management and he was going through that whole rough patch, people were saying Arteta should be sacked, and then people were criticizing Edu's transfer policy, the players he was bringing in. I think you guys were on the side of what are they doing, like these guys have no idea what they're doing, right? I mean, correct me if I'm wrong. I think, or like look at yourselves honestly. You guys probably were on the side of what is this club doing,
I mean,
right?
I will admit for the fact that I can't remember, is it 2 years ago or what? But when we lost to Everton, I don't know if you remember
Yeah.
that game, Arjun. We lost 2-1 or 2-0. I can't remember. Odegaard scored that game, but we ended up losing. And that was like a 7, 8, 9 games long streak, which Arteta had not won. I was honestly I felt that maybe he might not be the right manager for the job. I mean, I was questioning him, don't get me wrong. But I'm so glad that we actually stuck out with him throughout. That I think since that City game, which we lost 2-1, it's just been an upward spiral for us, despite losing that game. And I think if you guys watched the game, you know that game we totally dominated City, but we still lost that game. And at that point of time, City were the team to beat instead of
Yeah,
Liverpool.
I remember that game. I mean,
Yeah.
you guys see the thing is, I feel before this season, you guys were playing well, but not perhaps getting the results to go with it. But this season is when you guys are finding a way to win games, which you may not necessarily have won in another season. Yeah, so I think that's been the big difference. And I mean, I hate to admit it, but it does seem like the Premier League title is looking more and more likely for you guys. But then it also begs the question, like if a manager like Arteta is able to prove his mettle for a team like Arsenal, right? Should most managers be given just as much time as Arteta, or do you think that some managers, they deserve the sack right away? What do you guys think? Maybe Arjun can take a stab at this. Hopefully, his Wi-Fi holds.
Yeah. I think if Arteta, despite all the noise outside, especially after the second season where it just was a bad season. There really wasn't any positives to see. But I think one thing it shows is that of how,
Of course.
in terms of
you're back on. You're back on. Yeah, sorry.
yeah, just shows how far behind we are in terms of how our knowledge is when it comes to the game. Because honestly, when I look back and I see how all the managers were talking about him, I remember there was one game we lost to Tottenham. It was one of the worst games I've seen. We were playing at White Hart Lane. We lost 2-0. And Mourinho, first thing he did was congratulate Arteta on how good we were technically. At that time, everyone just thought, oh, he's told and stuff like that. But it shows that how far ahead the football people are ahead of the casual fans like us are. So it's really difficult for us to be able to answer that kind of question. And it's a case by case basis. You can look at Potter at Chelsea, he's also a young manager that's rated really highly, similar to Arteta.
Of course.
So you might think, okay, yeah, he should get that time, but really, it really depends on how good he is tactically and how good he is, how fast he can bring a consistent style of play. It is something that, even though we didn't get the results I saw from Arteta from day one, but with Potter, I'm not quite seeing it also. So it really depends. It really depends on how the manager is tactically and whether he has that mentality to go through all those rough patches. Because Arteta went through a lot of shit.
Exactly. So, I mean, look at Chelsea's model, for example. They keep sacking managers. Of course, with the new owner, he's taken a slightly different approach. I'm pretty sure if this was Abramovich, Potter would have been long gone, right? But at this
Yeah.
point in the season. So I mean, what do you guys feel? You guys feel that of course in the modern day, you see managers come and go quite often. Like for United, we haven't gotten it right for many years now. I'd say like maybe Ten Hag seems to be the right option so far. We'll come to that soon. But do you think that managers should be adopting more of an Arsenal style? I know you said that we as a layman we can't really tell about the tactical nuances of managers, but just from what's your take on it, guys? Like doesn't have to be a astute point or anything, just a layman take. Yeah.
I mean, what I would say is that it's not just it's not solely on the manager, basically. It needs to be a full club effort. Like what you
Mm-hmm.
saw with Arteta was like, we, as a club, Arsenal, we had everyone aligned to the goal which we want to do, which was
Yep.
get Arsenal back to the top. And that meant like Edu supported him, the Kroenke supported Arteta as well. And they
Mm-hmm.
got him the players which he felt was right for him, you know, which fit the profile. I'll give like the perfect example is just 2 days ago when Mudryk signed for Chelsea. Arteta
Yeah.
wanted Mudryk a lot. And we bid
Yeah.
3 times for him, and we bid up to about 95 million euros, which is insane for a player who's not even played 40 league games, by the way.
Yep.
So we I honestly I was surprised that we even went that far for him, but it just showed that we wanted him. But we
Mm-hmm.
stuck true to our principles and values that we knew that we cannot overspend on players. And
But what's
basically
the
what
difference
I'm trying
between 95 million and 100 million? That's like,
yeah, I
you
mean,
know,
see, in whole big perspective, is there's not much difference of like 5 million. I'm pretty sure we have the money in the bank to pay 5 extra million, but it's all about
yeah.
the principles of where you actually value the player. Like, if I'm not wrong,
Mm-hmm.
the way I read it as that the Arsenal board, we have a valuation of what he was worth it and what we might max go to achieve him. And if Shakhtar's asking more than that, then so well be it. We will leave the deal if that's the case and move on to
Mm.
other targets. But my point of here is saying is that we are not like the whole model of the club is just structured towards in a way where it's each unit is supporting one another.
Yep.
And that's what's also helping Arteta and helping the results on the pitch. So it's not solely just based on the manager. That's my opinion. Of course, the manager has to be very tactically sound. And in Arsenal's perspective, what he has done is he's identified the targets he wanted for his system and he
Mm-hmm.
told the board, hey, get me this guy. Whereas for some other clubs, I don't really feel that's happening. Like you just look at Todd Bowley spending money left, right, center. I don't think, like, honestly, like it's all Potter signing. Maybe some might be, some might not be. We don't know. Time will tell. But like, I don't know. It just doesn't seem like for Chelsea's case, like the whole
Mm.
structure of the club is aligned towards the goal. Like I totally
Mm.
agree. We should give Potter more time. But then if the board is not doing what Potter wants, then it's very hard for Potter to also succeed in the same place.
I think that's the
Yeah.
big difference,
Fair.
right?
Mm.
Yeah, on the point of club structure, I think it's a good point to probably segue into United because, of course, the man you see on my wall, which I haven't seen for a couple of months, um, he he mentioned in the interview with Piers Morgan about how the structure in the club is not there for United to win big. He mentioned how things have not changed from the time he used to be at United back in like 07, 08, and 09. And that to me as a fan tells me like, as much as we are playing well right now, we probably don't have the structure to probably take us to become an elite level club, like perhaps I'd say, for example, infrastructure wise, Arsenal are probably miles ahead of us. They have a modern stadium, they have signings, the facilities are probably better than us. Whereas for us, like from what I hear, like the technology has not been improved much. And I think that is a cause for concern. I visited Old Trafford personally myself, and it doesn't even have a digital screen to put things into perspective. Modern stadiums these days they have a live action replay screen. I'd say in most stadiums, I'd say around the world, even our Singapore Sports Hub has one. Um, so for a country where football is not at the top of its emphasis, we have I guess a more modern stadium compared to some of the biggest clubs in the world, right? So yeah, I mean that's just something. It's a good point you brought up about how you can't only rely on the manager. You probably need the structure around him to
Yeah.
be supported and eventually get to
Yeah.
where they want to get.
And I
And
just wanted to
since
add, because a small point to that is that I was just surprised that this whole process was so aligned. Because as Arsenal fans, I'm sure Arjun remember, we felt like Kroenkes do not want to spend. And honestly, the Kroenkes have actually invested quite a lot in the club at this point of time. Like, although our signings, like, they're not huge money signings apart from Pepe, which we spent 70 million, which was a full travesty. But but apart from that, like, we have not spent huge money, but we've spent in a lot of areas. And that's just what is something surprise to us, like, because as Arsenal fans, if you remember from the Wenger era, we wanted
yeah,
Kroenkes out. We didn't want them. Because we felt that he wasn't invested in our club and stuff. But in fact, just I think the West Ham game, he was inside the stadium as well. So it just shows how everything has changed. And even now that we are sort of in the Premier League fight, we are looking to invest. Hopefully, I mean, we shall see. But yeah, I don't know. Just
Mhm.
what a small point I wanted to bring up before we move on to
Yeah, I
United,
mean, fair enough, fair enough.
because it
You guys
leads up
have
really
been.
well to the Glazers, like how they're
Yeah,
doing
of course.
right
I mean,
now.
it's in stark contrast. I mean, when I was there at Old Trafford, the protests were going on. I mean, they were selling Glazer out banners to us as well. Of course, I mean, for me, I didn't want to get involved in it because, of course, the crowds do tend to get a bit violent and rowdy. But yeah, I mean, it's clear to see how stark the popularity of the owners are for both clubs. Um, but yeah, I'd say, I mean, maybe off the pitch, things aren't as great for us. But on the pitch, I have to say that Ten Hag has been doing absolute bits this season. I think I read some stat that he has achieved the same number of wins uh, halfway through the season as uh, Man United did last season, in the whole of last season, rather. Yeah. So
Oh,
that to me is like an insane stat actually. I think that stat I read was probably for all competitions, obviously, not for the
Wow.
Premier League. We haven't completed 20 games yet. Um, but yeah, I think he's come in. He's had a vision. He once wanted to implement a particular style of play, which he believed was right. Of course, some players didn't come on board. Biggest example is that man there right there, Cristiano Ronaldo. Um, I mean, okay. I mean, since I never had a chance to talk about it. I think this is a good time to talk about Ronaldo. Uh, Personally, when he did the interview, of course, like any other United fan, I felt betrayed a bit. But after sitting on it for a few days, I realized actually it took a lot of guts for him to come out and say it because I don't think. I mean, of course, if anyone was going to say it, it's probably him because of the immense credibility and I mean, just the massive football icon he is. He is a superstar. So he is. If anyone could make it, he could make it. But if you think about it, I feel like he really didn't have much to gain from that interview. Honestly, if you think of it in hindsight, and it seemed to come from a point of like he just wanted A to be respected, B to play, and C ultimately he felt like things were not where it needs to be for the club. I mean, if you look at it objectively, of course, he said some things, that could trigger the emotions of a few Man United fans. But if you look at it just objectively, let's talk about the facts here. The fact is, our technology is not up to scratch. The fact is, he wasn't respected by the manager. The fact is, he didn't suit our system. So obviously, given these facts, you kind of understand where he's coming from. So for me, Ronaldo, yeah, a part of me felt hopes. I mean, wished that it ended a bit more peacefully, but he chose this path, and unfortunately, the World Cup didn't go that well for him. Obviously knocked out by Morocco, and yeah, I mean, I hate to say it, Messi is the goat, but Ronaldo is a very very close second, and I mean, yeah, if I can't bring myself to say he's a goat after watching Messi win the World Cup, so yeah. So that's the Ronaldo debacle done, and
but I just wanted to
coming,
add that
yeah,
about for the Ronaldo thing, I feel it's like, just from an outsider perspective, I felt it was just a
yeah,
way for him to try to find a move out of United, because I felt he wanted to leave in the summer, but his wishes were not respected, I guess.
yes, that too, yes, that too,
Yeah.
that was mentioned in the interview as well,
And
yes.
and then even after that, Ten Hag didn't play him. And that's another disrespect for him. I mean, I'm not saying he should be starting, but then like what I would say is that Ten Hag didn't show it. Like, fair enough, it's his philosophy, whatever he wants to do, he's up
Yeah.
to it. But like,
I think the key was his kid, right? Like they didn't believe when he mentioned something about his kid being sick, and this was after he had just, I mean, his wife, sorry, had just suffered a miscarriage. So I mean, I think from just a human point of view, I completely understand his frustrations, and to add to that, of course, whatever is going on the pitch as well. So it
yeah,
wouldn't have been a pleasant time for him at that time. So
I
I
mean,
completely understand why he was so frustrated and decided to, just kind of screw his club over,
yeah.
I guess.
I mean, the sad part of this is that people will not remember him for the 10 years or whatever he has spent at United, but they'll remember him for the last 2 months of his tenure at United more than they did for
Okay,
his
I would disagree
achievements.
with that. I would disagree with that. It's
Or at
more
least
of
the majority of the committee.
how. No, I don't think so. I think more of it comes down to more of a fact of like probably the way he ended it is but it doesn't ruin his legacy of what he did
I agree
for the
because
club, because yeah, I wouldn't say it just puts a sour end to it. That's all.
I mean,
Like
kind
for
of
example,
reminds me
like
of Wenger, honestly. I know Wenger was a manager, but
Yeah,
in a
of
similar
course.
way,
yeah,
he had an amazing legacy for most of the years he was there. But he had a sour end. It wasn't a
yeah,
head decision, definitely. He definitely
Mm.
left with some kind of like resentment towards the club and the fans. I mean,
yeah,
how long did it take for Wenger to come back to
Yeah,
Ernest? 3
but
years?
but but that's the thing. The difference here is that the way a lot of United fans felt towards Ronaldo. I mean, if you ask other United fans, they felt really betrayed by him, like you
yeah.
mentioned before.
But I feel like majority of the United fans are riding on emotion rather than looking at it objectively. That's what I feel, because I mean it's very natural to feel like, because no other player has the balls to do it, like to put it explicitly as possible. Like which
And
other
also,
player really had?
I did think he
Sorry,
brought
yeah,
up some valid points as well. Like about,
yeah,
maybe not
oh
like
shit,
him talking about, sorry.
yeah, go, sorry, about him. What? Sorry,
Like I thought he made some valid points about the club
yeah,
structure and stuff. Maybe the talk about the teammates and the manager, that's where he
it's a
loses
bit
me.
sneaky. Yeah, that's true. I think that's fair.
Him talking about the club, like I know he genuinely cares for the club. Like you can tell he does. But at the same time, you
Yeah,
can also tell that he's fighting a battle with his ego when it comes to like his playing time, and that's where like the friction and
Yeah.
like the throwing the players under the bus comes. So it's a
100%, hundred
yeah.
percent.
That's my perception of it.
Yeah, I think you make a fair point. Like, I'm not saying Ronaldo is like a saint or anything like that. I mean, he has his flaws, but I feel like those are the flaws which get him to the level he is,
Mm,
because
yeah,
I feel for any
that's fair.
person who's at the top of their field, especially for a guy, you've probably worked hours and hours to achieve that, and of course, with that you bring your ego, right? And
Mm,
I think that's what it is. So of course, I'm not saying he's perfect or anything, but I just feel the majority of the points he brought up were valid, and some I think probably. I mean, I don't think we're going to win the league this season. Like, I mean, as much as we are suddenly suddenly dark horses for it, but like it just me for me, I think in order for us to actually get to the position where Arsenal are in, we probably have some work to do as a club in terms of the structure, in terms of the facilities, in terms of the stadium. We still have a long way to go, in my opinion. So, but all I would say is we are getting things right on the pitch, and that brings a nice segue to the game itself, which was the Manchester derby. So 2-1. First of all, I'd like to say that I think we were a bit lucky to get the win. I have to be honest. Not only because of the goal, the controversial offside goal, but just the overall game itself. Because I think we were the better team across the 90 minutes, by an inch, maybe like a few chances, probably. But in terms of whether we deserved really to win, I'd say a draw was probably a more fair result given the balance of play. Um, but yeah, let's just unpack the goals. So first up, first half. Okay, let's talk about the first half actually. First half, I don't know if you guys watched it. First half, we were the dominant team. Of course, my stream wasn't working till about 30 minutes, but I watched the highlights. It was a frustrating 30 minutes for me. But from what I saw, I think we were the dominant team. I think Ten Hag got it absolutely right. He knew that City were going to keep possession, but structurally we were fantastic. I mean, and Varane, Casemiro have been. I mean, they're just showing. You can tell they're a class apart from everyone else on the pitch. You can just tell, like 5 times Champions League winners. Like you can see the class on the pitch. So for me, Casemiro has been the signing of the season because he has really put in a shift. You can tell that he was the missing link for us all these years. That world class marquee holding midfielder, which teams that or the top teams in the world have. And yeah, he has really proven his mettle despite his age, his price tag, whatever. And of course, we have to talk about the main man, Marcus Rashford, who's been on a red hot form. And it's really pleasing to see as a United fan because I still remember how it was during the Euros and last season, and it was just sad to see. It was to a point like you almost felt sympathy towards him, but this season he's just come out a different animal. It was unfortunate that he didn't feature that much in the World Cup, even after scoring a hat trick against Iran. But I think he's proven. I think right now, on based on form, he's one of the best players in the world right now. On purely on form, just saying on form. But he has a long way to go to like probably catch Mbappe or like Haaland, because those guys. Mbappe did it in the World Cup final. Haaland is scoring for fun every game. So to reach that level at a consistent basis is of course a whole new ball game. But just on right now on form, he's one of the best players in my opinion. Okay, you guys can probably disagree. I don't know,
No,
but
I think that's fair.
I think that's a fair statement. I hope it's a fair statement. But yeah, so we were early. I mean, we were dominating the first half, but second half, of course, we started very poorly. I thought we kept giving the ball away cheaply, too many times, and because of that, City were dominating the possession. They were creating more of the chances, and of course, around the I think 66th minute, if I'm not wrong, my man JG10, Jack Grealish came on and scored uh, a rare headed goal for him. I thought we defended well, but we just didn't retain possession well enough up until that point. And once City scored, I just thought, like it's probably too good to be true, like because we were coming off the back end of a very good run of fixtures. So it just felt like, City was just too big a test for us. But out of nowhere, once again, the controversial offside goal. Okay, let's. I mean, I just want to know your thoughts, guys. Do you think it's offside?
I did think it was offside, to be honest. Like
Really?
I
Okay.
did think it was, but at the same time, like I've seen those. Like I remember, I don't know whether Yash remembers or not, but it was against Chelsea in the FA Cup final. It was
Mhm.
kind of a similar situation where Ramsey went for the ball, then he left it, then Alexis
Mm.
scored. Do you remember? Like
Yeah, I
the thing
remember.
is, this goal is a bit more exaggerated in the sense that Rashford ran onto the ball. He did
No, we lost you
block the
again.
defender's
Okay.
path ultimately, and I just feel like
Yeah.
ultimately that's too much of an involvement, because like under the new interpretation of the rule, right, it's not just whether you touch play.
It's about
And
it's about involvement, right? That's what
yeah,
you're saying.
Yep.
yeah. So for me, I think it was an interference in play. But
Yes.
having said that, City lost, so that's good for us. So in my opinion, it's a correct decision. Yeah, GGMU.
Okay. But okay, I mean, looking back to the rule itself, I personally feel it's a bit of a gray area. It's a 50-50 call in my opinion. Like I'm not gonna sit here. I mean, yeah, of course I'm happy that the goal got counted and all, but I would say this. Usually those kind of offside calls are given if it interferes with the keeper. Those are the times I've mainly, because usually these kind of offsides are given when, let's say, there's an offside player blocking the path of the keeper and hence impeding his vision, or like blocking his path to dive.
Right.
In this case, I did not see any such instance. Perhaps the defensive line, of course, because they were trying to play Rashford off and they did it successfully, but then somehow because he was close to the ball, they couldn't get close to the ball as well, and then
Yeah.
Bruno comes on and scores. So because I've never seen something like that, a unique situation like this being given offside, I have to say that I err on the side of it being a goal. But then again, based on the letter of the law, I'd say that it is probably, a 50-50 call. So in this case, I'd say like City are unlucky. But if the goal had not been given, I'd say United are unlucky, like that's my take on it. More on the fence rather than anything, because it really is a very subjective call, and I don't think anyone can be 100% sure whether or not it's offside because of how the rule has been applied in the past few years. Yeah, that's just my take on it.
I mean,
Yash, what do you think? Yeah.
I mean, the thing is, a lot of times, because when you try to play someone offside, you successfully play them, at least in terms of the play on field. And when you mention about the keeper's stuff, like usually this kind of fouls or like offsides are given when there's a impeding in front of the keeper or something like that, something along those lines. But like I agree that it's kind of like a gray area. It's like, when you like a shirt pulling basically, anywhere else on the pitch, a lot of times you get an easy foul. But then when it happens in the penalty area, sometimes you get a penalty, sometimes you don't get a penalty.
Yep.
It's like yeah, there's no real
No, I'd say this is even more rare because something like this doesn't really happen that often. I don't know. Like we
Yeah, of
haven't had
course.
such a controversial
Mm.
offside call in a while because VAR is supposed to remove that ambiguity, but this is a very special scenario where one player is sort of coming into an offside position and then the player doesn't touch the ball. But some people argue that because he was so close to the ball, he was actually dribbling with the ball, he was sort of in
Yeah,
control
but
of
he
the
didn't
ball.
actually
So
touch the ball, so then that's the
yeah,
gray area.
so
Yeah.
exactly. So I mean, yeah, I think I'll still send 50 on the 50-50 call. It was a very nice goal, in my opinion. I think Casemiro was the one that gave the assist, if I am not mistaken. Correct me if I'm wrong, because I can't remember. I can't exactly remember who gave the assist, but it was a very nice ball played in. Let me take a look. Who gave the assist? Who gave the assist? Assist, yes, was by Casemiro. So this was in the 78th minute, and of course, out of nowhere, Marcus Rashford pulls up again, 2-1, Man United. And the best part was, I actually got spoiled for the goal from my dad. My dad called me up. He was outside watching it with his friends, and then he was just excited. The fact that it was 2-1, and then yeah, he kind of spoiled the game for me. It's quite funny. Yeah, and then I saw the goal unfold. But I had to say, Garnacho is really proving his mettle. He is contributing in the big games. So this is something that is huge for an 18-year-old in the Premier League. I mean, what do you guys feel about his talent? Is it something that you think next season he's going to going to be his breakout season, or you think it's too early, or what do you guys think?
I mean, given Ten Hag's track record,
We lost him again.
nice.
Arjun, you're back again. Yeah, come
Oh
on.
no, I was saying like given that Ten Hag has a track record of developing these kind of players, young players, I think you can be excited. I like his mentality more than anything. Like I haven't really watched him consistently enough to
Of
talk
course,
about his
yeah.
style of play, but I like that he's always mentally up for the fight. And like
Mm.
I just from what I've heard from Man United fans, he seems to have a good attitude and someone who's
Yeah,
hungry to improve himself. It reminds me of
of
Martinelli in
course.
a way when he first
Yeah,
started.
I think there are similarities, especially with the way they use their speed to their advantage. You can really see this guy has, he can really clock some, and yeah, I think he's definitely one for the future. Kind of reminds me of Greenwood a bit, I guess, but Greenwood, of course, was much more versatile,
Mm.
with both feet, and that versatility is yet to be seen. He probably has to score on a more regular basis, but um, from what I've seen from him so far, I think the fact that he is able to create such an impact in the big games is what is really encouraging for me. And who knows? I mean, I think he could be a potential starter for the next rest of the season because he is playing that well. I'd say he's probably outperforming someone like Anthony, who hasn't been performing badly per se, but it's more of it's good to see that is the standard to be in the first team. I think that's something that has really changed within United. There's no mediocrity from anyone. Everyone works hard off the ball. Everyone wants to help each other. There's a lot less complaining. There's a lot more structure to our play. Everyone knows what they're doing. Everyone knows their roles very, very clearly. Like yesterday, for example, I mean, when we played City, Fred was suddenly thrown into the starting lineup, and he had a very clear job as to man mark. I mean, both Casemiro and Fred were made aware of who they need to mark. One had to mark De Bruyne, one had to mark Bernardo Silva. So, players like Fred, for example, doesn't start every game, but I think in training it's drilled so well to them such that, when they are expected, or rather when they are thrown into the first team lineup, they perform, and that is something we haven't seen. And it's good finally that we don't rely on like McTominay and Fred. The whole McFred bullshit like is gone. Those days are over, and like we have a proper solid midfield. Like Ericsson is a different class. Casemiro is world class. Then our back line, at this point, Luke Shaw is playing centre back, and he's doing wonders at the back. He's keeping on our what's his name? Oh, yeah, Lisandro Martinez. Sorry, I forgot about it. But yeah, I think it's great that players are stepping up, and there's this whole Ronaldo debacle especially could have caused a lot of disunity among the club. I guess the timing of it helped because people were away in the World Cup, and the core group was still training with Ten Hag, and that's how you see the emergence of players like Aaron Wan-Bissaka, who's had a very rough few, I'd say few months actually, and to see him flourish against City, I think that's very, very impressive. But yeah, I think it's been a great season thus far. I don't think we're going to win the league, if I'm being very honest. If we do, I would love to see us do it, but realistically, it's either City or Arsenal. Like as much as I hate to admit it,
So
and
even
more
despite
likely,
being a point behind City, you'd still say it's between two of us.
of course, because City have the experience. Pep likes to play these mind games, where you're like, oh, we're actually done with, we're not in the title race and all that. BS. It's all mind games. He knows he let me tell you what he would have told the players after full time. He would have probably absolutely obliterated them. There's no way he's accepting mediocrity like that. To come, especially given the previous fixture, how it was, they absolutely thumped us 6-3, where both Haaland and Foden scored a hat trick. I think losing to us was probably not in the plans at all. So yeah, I think
to be fair, I'll just say one thing about City is they just don't look that same team which they exactly were last season. Like, don't get me wrong, Haaland has come in and scored a huge ton of goals. But I see that the weakling in City is that if he gets injured, they're going to struggle for goals. Like, not in a whole big perspective, but at least struggle in that sense that it will become a lot harder for them to score. Because one thing which I've noticed is most of their goals are coming from him, which is not the same for us, Arsenal. If you look at us, all our goals are spread across the front four. Each person has about 8 or 9 goals each across the front four. So, yeah, I feel like it's going to make a bigger impact to City if they lose Haaland than it did to us when Jesus got injured, because you saw Eddie came in and he scored a few goals as well. He's been contributing really well. So I guess it's going to come down to a bit of luck as well, like who gets a better, how do I put it, injury less record into the season as well.
Yeah, I think that's a fair point. Yeah, I think injuries are going to be a huge part. I thought after Jesus' injury, you guys will be exposed a bit, but that clearly hasn't been the case. So I guess kudos to Arteta, and kudos to the people replacing, like as you mentioned,
Eddie, bro.
Eddie's been
looking
doing
like a beast, man.
Yeah,
honestly, if you watch him play, he's been looking like a proper beast.
Yeah, he is.
Like the Eddie I knew from 1 year ago, it's nowhere to be seen. Like, the man's improved his first touch immensely, Arjun. Like, you remember the Eddie we used to know, his first touch used to be like the 10 yards ahead of him, bro. Now it's like he's turning defenders over and scoring that goal against West Ham, which is insane.
Yeah, I think as a striker, if you want to become a top striker in the Premier League, you need to have different. Eddie was kind of just like like a poacher, like a fox in the box kind of player. But now, like as Yash mentioned, he's involved in link up. He knows how to turn on. He knows how to do a half turn. He knows how to find different angles to score, and that's not exactly something he was known for just a couple of seasons ago. So I mean,
Yeah.
credit to Arteta and his coaching team. I think most of the young players in our team
Yeah.
have benefited massively from whatever teaching them. Like it's clear to see like the improvement is season on season is quite palpable. It's quite, and like the table just reflects that.
Yep.
Okay, so since we've talked extensively about Man United and Arsenal, it's only right to end off the episode with some score predictions. So we have the massive fixture of it's going to be happening at the Emirates. We have United Arsenal.
Well, you have a
Score
midweek
prediction
game though.
boys. Yeah, we have Palace in midweek, but do you guys have a midweek game?
No, that's why.
Okay, that would play a big role actually for you guys. It's a big advantage to you guys, in my opinion. And so yeah, score predictions, boys. Come on, go ahead.
Arjun?
I don't think I think United will score because, funnily enough, our defensive record is worse at home than away. I think that's probably to do with the fact that we probably go a bit more gung ho at home, with the fans
Yes.
supporting us. I think there's going to be goals in the game. I'm going to go for like a 3-2 to Arsenal just because it would be amazing to have a thriller kind of game. I think this could be a game of season because really, I think we are the two form teams in the league. If you're a United fan, you should be confident. If you're an Arsenal fan, you should be confident. There's really not much in it, the way both teams are playing right now. I just give the edge to Arsenal because I think, we are at home. One. Another thing is that I think we are slightly ahead in the process. We spend a lot more time under.
Yeah, I think he meant to say Arteta.
Sorry.
But yeah, we got your point. We got your point. Don't worry.
Yeah. So yeah, that's what
Yash.
I would probably say 3-0 to Arsenal.
Oh my God.
Okay.
And the reason I
Gentleman
say
of the podcast,
that is because I feel the midweek game is going to be a huge difference. You guys are playing Thursday night, if I'm not wrong, and the game's on Sunday, so that's just 2-3 days to recover.
No, I agree. I mean, I
So
totally
that's
agree.
one thing.
It's gonna
We
play
have
a
a
role, but 3-0 is a bit of a stretch. I mean, you can if we lose 3-0, you can take this snippet and put it all over social media. It's okay. I'm okay with that. But come on, man, 3-0, really.
No, the thing is, I look at this Arsenal team. I just have a lot of faith in us that we can score a few goals. Like any team which comes to the Emirates, we can break down. Knowing United, they're going to be a bit more expressive. I do see us scoring 3 goals now. Honestly, if for the Spurs game, even the Spurs game could have easily scored 3 or 4 goals in the first half.
Yeah,
So-
I mean, that's fair. That's because they are Spurs.
So what my whole point of saying is just that I know that the home advantage is going to be big. United are going to be a bit tired from the midweek game. We have a full week rest. All our boys are fit, so I don't see why not we can have a 3-0 plus. I would love a United battering, to be honest. So that's also it.
Yep, no, not a tinge of bias there. And
It's about
for
time.
me,
It's about time. Arteta takes out the 3-1 scoreline, puts it on the his whiteboard in the Emirates Stadium, and like how he did it against the Troy Deeney's tweet in the Amazon series. Use that as a motivation to fuel the boys to we got to go and smash this. Well, I was going to say something else, but yeah, smash these people basically.
Yep. All right. 3-0. Okay, 3-0 is a bit diluted if I'm allowed to use that word, but okay. For my prediction, I'm going to be a bit realistic, pragmatic. I don't think we're going to win at the Emirates. I think it's really difficult to go out and go there and win at Emirates, but I think we will probably eke out a draw, and I think it's going to be a 1-1 draw. It's going to be a thriller. It's going to be a game full of chances, but I think the keepers are going to come out on top. But I think both teams have quality in them to score a goal each. So for my prediction for this weekend is a 1-1
Do you think
draw.
United is just going to come and sit?
I think depends on who we play against Crystal Palace, because if we're going to play the same players, of course, I don't think we're going to have the energy levels to sort of play a pressing game against you guys. We might set up a bit similar to City, how we did against City. But if we do rotate the squad a bit, I think we might take the game to you guys. But I wouldn't be surprised to see a similar setup to what we did against City, because Arsenal and City are quite alike in the way you guys play. So I wouldn't be surprised to see the same setup where we sort of hold our ground and
I
defend
mean,
deep,
I
and
just
then
asked because like
you guys on the
I
transition.
I just asked because I don't watch United games, so I don't really know how they set up. So I'm just curious.
Yeah.
Because
I
from my
mean, against you
perspective,
guys,
whatever team which comes to the Emirates, they sit back because they know they can't attack. Apart from Liverpool, who even ended up losing still. So it's like,
Mm.
yeah. So if you guys try to come ahead, I see you guys getting exposed. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah. I see a very similar setup which we pulled up against City, where we sort of, even at home, we sort of allowed City to keep possession, but we were defensively very, very solid, and we were just playing on the transitions. And I think that's what I see us doing, especially given the pace on all our front three men, actually. Like even Martial, Martial is actually running for the ball. He's like chasing after the balls. So for me, yeah, I think a 1-1 draw is fair. I think it's a fair result given where both teams are. But I hope I'm proven wrong by getting a win. But realistically, pragmatically, I don't think I see us pulling off a win at the Emirates. Yeah, if I'm being perfectly honest. Yeah, and I think that's about it, right, guys? Anything else you guys want to add? Okay, perfect. Okay, so we've come to the end of the episode once again, and if you haven't checked us out, please do check us out on Spotify and YouTube as the Next Team Podcast, and Instagram and TikTok as the Next Team SG. So check out the content we're going to be posting, hopefully on a weekly basis. Yeah, it definitely will not be another 6 months till we upload. So please look out and support us as much as you can, guys. We really appreciate it. And with that, we come to the end of the episode, and we'll catch you guys in the next episode of the Next Team Podcast. Bye bye.